Hi, welcome to the programme. Tonight we're talking about depression. Well, it's Valentine's Day and some people feel fairly fed up. Behind me over here, two members of the Samaritans, and if you're feeling low or you're feeling depressed, you can talk to them off the air. Or, of course, you can talk to us on the air here. The number coming up on the screens, 0532 46 1000. Call us now.
Radio show.
Okay, the phone calls are coming in. That was rather good. I won't have time to go back and do that again. Before we get on with the programme, though, something else. And this is about a programme that we're going to do in a couple of weeks' time. And it really fits into depression when I think about it, because over here is Janet Ward, and Janet is from the Slimming Magazines Club. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
That's right. And she's a little nervous. I'm more nervous, because I'm going to get on the scales here and launch the Whale Blubber Club. Now, you may have realised that most slimming clubs are for women, so we decided on the Whale Show to launch a men, and I'm getting really quiet because I don't really want to do it, because I'm quite happy, but I should lose weight. And if you want to join the Whale Blubber Club, then you can join it by writing to us, and we'll give you the address in a few moments. But first, I think I should get weighed,
Definitely.
Right? Right, okay, fine. I've got everything on. I've got very heavy microphones here and all sorts of bits and pieces. And I got the clothes on. How much do I weigh? Okay, right, hit me with how much I weigh.
Bad news now.
Bad news now?
14 stone, 7 pounds.
14 stone, 7 pounds? I weighed that in rehearsal.
Still weighed.
I've got lighter clothes on than I had in rehearsal.
No.
Okay, so I'm going to lose a lot of weight, actually. I'm not going to lose my cuddliness, because I think that would be bad. And you're going to come back at a later date and tell me how to do it, or how to achieve it. If you would like to join the Whale Blubber Club and shed your blubber, write to us at this address. There we are, the James Whale Radio Show, Yorkshire Television, Leeds, LS3 1JS. And you can join us too. Thank you for the moment, very much indeed. Now, later on, we'll be talking to Spike Milligan, but for the moment, come over here, and Gerard and Kate are with us, and Gerard and Kate are members of the Samaritans. First of all, Kate, what exactly do the Samaritans do?
Well, we're there 24 hours a day, every day of the year, basically to listen to try to support people who are depressed or feeling suicidal.
Now, I didn't realise that suicide is one of the major causes of death in this country?
Particularly for young men. I think it's probably the second
greatest cause among young people.
Really?
Yeah, after accidental death.
And how, I mean, what is it, sort of 10s or 20s a year? How many people a year?
About 5,000 a year. About one every couple of hours, somebody kills themselves in this country.
Because something quite often that people laugh at, being depressed. I mean, we all get depressed, but people quite often laugh at it. If somebody rings the Samaritans, they don't necessarily have to feel like topping themselves, do they, straight away? I mean, that's not all you handle.
No, we're there for people who feel they're in crisis, who may be depressed, who feel that there isn't anyone else they can turn to.
Now, sometimes people will say, oh, that's all very well, but the Samaritans will never offer any advice, and quite often they won't talk. Some people's criticism of the Samaritans is that they don't talk.
Well, we certainly don't offer advice. What we do is we offer listening, we offer time and our support to give people a chance to share their feelings, to explore their thoughts and their feelings and move on. We don't give advice because we can't.
Why do people become Samaritans? Do some people become Samaritans because they have problems themselves?
They may do, but I think there are so many different kinds of people who are Samaritans, and probably thousands of different reasons for joining. Perhaps it's personal experience, perhaps it's just knowing about it, perhaps wanting to do something that they think will be useful.
I find it difficult to believe that men commit suicide more than women.
It's a fact, particularly with young men. In the last 10 years, there's been about a 50% increase in the suicide rate among men between about 16 and 25. And something horrific like a 75% increase in men between 25 and early 40s.
Really? And so it's a sort of, presumably, it's the age when, excuse me, men are worrying about what they've achieved in life and how they're going to go through to the sort of the final part.
It's difficult to speculate because the reasons for people reaching that point are very varied. It's difficult to say what brings an individual to that point.
Is it more prevalent at certain times of the year? I mean, do people get more depressed in winter than in summer?
It's difficult to say. The pattern, there probably are patterns, but we're not aware of them. Certainly people, the cliches don't always work. We never know what's going to happen. It seems to happen at, well, any time of year, any time of day.
What about forms of suicide? I mean, it's a rather macabre thing to talk about. I mean, but is there one more popular, or is it usually people take sleeping tablets or what?
Among women, taking sleeping tablets seems very common, and perhaps that's why more women survive. Attempted suicide is estimated at being about 200,000 people a year.
200,000 people a year attempt to kill themselves,
Yeah.
but quite a lot of those will be just a cry. When I say just, I don't mean that, but a cry for help.
It's difficult to say that it's, as you said, just a cry for help. I think for many people who reach that point, maybe they don't want to die, but they know that they don't want to carry on living in the situation that they're in.
So men don't use tablets as much as women then?
A lot of men seem to go for, if you like, more violent, more drastic methods from which there's no going back.
So even if they wanted a cry for help, sometimes they do it whether they meant to or not?
Well, who knows what people mean when they're in that state.
How do you treat people who ring up and are obviously taking the mick?
With respect, because we believe that even though they may be taking the mick at that time, that potentially they are callers who will have something that they do want to share with us. So we try, we're not fools, but we do try and treat every caller with respect. We just don't judge people.
Don't you get depressed yourselves? I mean, it must be pretty depressing just listening to the tales of woe on the phone.
We have a lot of support. We don't do duties alone. There's always somebody there. There's somebody to talk things over with afterwards, and we're a very supportive group of people.
Okay, we're going to take some calls, and we're going to come back and talk some more in a few moments. But for now, thank you very much indeed. Okay. Now, although we're talking about depression, we are also going to have some entertainment as well. Now, shall I go this side or that side? Which way, Les? I think I'll boogie over this way. Now, for the first time, microphone would be... Do I need a microphone? Thank you very much indeed. We rehearsed it, but there we are. Ladies and gentlemen, the first time performing soon on British television, the Army of Lovers. Oh, hang on, just a minute. Now, look. I know you might not be terribly happy tonight, right? But I'm going to do that again, and when the crescendo in my voice builds, you know what to do, right? Forgot to rehearse them. Okay. First time performing on British television, ladies and gentlemen, the Army of Lovers. Now, if they don't go to #1 next week or the week after in this country, I shall be severely depressed myself. Let me introduce them to... let me introduce you to them. First of all... Alexander, over here. Lovely matching shirts. And over here is...
Hello, James. I'm Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre. I messed your hair up there. I'm sorry, dear. And sitting in the middle...
Hello, I'm Delacour.
And she's an actual real countess. Is that right?
Correct.
You didn't know I knew that, did you?
No, I didn't know that.
No. I found out she's a countess. Wow. Yes, wonderful. I mean, yes. Anyway, at least, I mean, it's a very serious business, music, of course, isn't it?
Oh, it is, definitely.
Yeah, yes. And, I mean, just you sort of see a completely new sort of musical field opening up here, sort of theatrical musical?
Could be.
Yes?
We've got our roots in theatre and opera, and, I mean, we started as kids miming to ABBA and Boney M and stuff like that in front of the mirror, and today we're
still
doing
it in front of the mirror, but yes.
But to our own songs.
Yes. Now, Sweden, of course, is renowned for people being... Oh, you're smiling over there. That's very nice. Sweden, of course, is renowned for people being depressed, isn't it?
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it's quite dark.
It's quite dark?
Yes.
Yes.
8 months.
8 months dark?
A year, yes.
Yeah, it's funny how things go in 8-month cycles, isn't it, really?
You know, depression itself isn't always depressing. It can be enjoyable at times.
Yes. Do you enjoy depression?
Not myself, but Swedes tend to do that. Depression is the national hobby in Sweden.
It could be a way of living.
It could, couldn't it?
Yes, it could.
Of course, you're well known...
It's very beautiful to be depressed and sad. That was beautiful, that wasn't it?
It's very nice, yes. Okay, well, unfortunately, we're not allowed to let you actually open your mouths whilst you mime to this.
Why? We were promised we could mime on this show. That's why we came to your show.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not allowed.
Well,
So
I mean,
lied
we make our own records and we write our own songs, so we should be allowed to mime. We should have a right to mime.
I know, but I have to just do. You won't mind terribly if I just do this. I know it's a
I told you this would happen on British television.
I'm sorry.
Depressing. This is really depressing, isn't
I'm sorry.
it? It's...
Purse, dear, lovely. Thank you very much indeed. Don't let it open. Go out and buy this record tomorrow because it's number 38 in the charts at the moment. It really should go to the... Can you help? Could you put a finger on there for me?
A finger?
Well, anything you like. But let's go with the finger. Thank
Watch
you.
your nails, too.
Yes, watch your nails. Don't break those. Okay, Purse. Right, that'll be really terrible when it comes off as well. I hate to do this to you, Countess. I've never stuck a member of the royal family before, but there is, as they say, a first time for everything. Are you ready? Okay.
Is this for safe kisses or what?
Safe kisses. You can't catch anything. Ladies and gentlemen, the Army of Lovers! Fantastic, lovely. As the cameras rush right over into this side of the building, let me ask you, I suppose, I've never had a member of the royal family. It's an emotional moment for me here, actually. I've never had a royal personage on the programme. A lot of people say when you're depressed, pull yourself together, for goodness sake. And then other people say that's the worst thing you can do to anybody, but quite often, sometimes you just need someone to sort of say, for goodness sake, you're not as badly off as you think. Do you ever say that to people?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
You don't really know how badly someone else feels. You can't really tell how they are.
Do people have to give you their name or not?
No. I can be absolutely anonymous and we guarantee confidentiality.
Okay, let's talk briefly to Andrew from Essex. I say briefly, Andrew, because we're running a little over at the moment. Andrew.
Hello?
What's your point, please?
Hello, James.
Yeah.
My fiancé has suffered the symptoms of depression since becoming unemployed, but has refused to accept depression as a cause of these symptoms.
Yeah.
Now, since then, I've managed to convince her that depression is an illness and is not to be embarrassed about, and she's now consulting her GP. Can I make 2 points? That one, depression is sometimes hard to accept, but it should not be ignored because it is a terrible illness. And also, you've been talking to the Samaritans across from the table from now, yeah? Can I say that there's another organisation called Nightline, which the Samaritan members there will be quite aware of, which is from universities, and you can get the number from the Director of Inquiries. If you ask to be put through to any university and ask for Nightline, they'll put you automatically through to the Nightline representative of that university.
Andrew, thank you very much indeed for your call from Essex. Of course, quite often studying is the cause of Great Depression. Do you get quite a lot of young people who are studying?
We get a lot of calls from young people for a large number of reasons. As Andrew's just said, universities and colleges often have nightlines that operate in the same way as the Samaritans.
Okay, we're going to take some more calls a little later. Remember, you can talk to the Samaritans off-air if you wish to tonight, and we'll be talking to members of the audience later as well. We'll be back after this break.
46 1000, James Whale.
Welcome back. Here we are live in Leeds tonight, and the programme is about depression, because depression is something that we tend perhaps to feel more at night as well. And with me is psychiatrist Dr. Chris Simpson. I mean, am I right in saying nighttime is perhaps a time when we get a little more depressed if we are suffering?
A lot of people do. Early in the morning is the very worst time for people with severe depression. People wake up early and they feel absolutely awful then.
Now, I need to know really what is the difference between just like most of us feeling pissed off from time to time and somebody who is suffering. As we heard, Andrew from Essex said that people don't believe that depression is an illness.
Well, it's a spectrum, really. I mean, we all get depressed sometimes when circumstances arise, but it's really when that depression affects our lives, so we're not sleeping properly, we're not eating properly, and it's really interfering with our lives, and that's when we call it clinical depression.
How do we know when we have it, though? How do we know when we're not just sort of bad-tempered and upset? Because, I mean, okay, it might be strange to say, but because you've lost your job. I mean, not everybody that loses their job, and there are a lot of people at the moment doing that, become clinically depressed, do they?
No.
How do you know the difference?
Well, it's really to do with the severity of it and how long it lasts and how much it's interfering with what one's actually doing.
Would you know yourself?
No, a lot of people don't know, no. In fact, that's one of the things about the Royal College of Psychiatrists campaign on defeating depression, trying to get people to understand about depression so that they know more about it and are able to recognise it more themselves.
Now, in the States, people go to their shrink. Sorry about that, but they go and see their shrink quite regularly, just as a matter of therapy. Would you like to see more people do it? I mean, I bet you would, but do you think it's something we should do more often in this country?
No, not really. I think in this country we have good family doctors, and family doctors are extremely good at treating depression, and they are the first port of call.
OK, we're going now to, we'll talk some more in a moment, particularly about the Defeat Depression campaign that I know you want to talk about. But first, I went down to London last week to meet a man who's quite open about the fact that he's spent 5 different times in mental institutions. A very funny man as well, Spike Milligan. I want to ask an obvious question, first of all, really, because we're talking about depression and why people feel down a lot of the time, and why perhaps sometimes the funniest people, I mean, I was thinking particularly at that moment of Tony Hancock, who was a very tragic man, very sad man, but one of the funniest ever.
It just would appear to be that funny people are depressives. If you take out the head count in the world, you find that is not the case. You find they are in a minimal.
A little, yeah.
They're minimalist, but it just so happens, you know, people seem to latch onto that, you know. It's the classic reinvention of the story of the clown, the sad clown. It goes like Pagliaccio.
But you said, somewhere I read, you said that the Goon Show took more out of you and upset you more than practically anything you ever did. Yep, that's something that
it only contributed to the fact that during the war I'd been blown up and called battle fatigue. Or in the old world terms, bomb happy. And it was aggravated by the tremendous intensity of amount of work that I put into writing the Goon Show. I used to write 12, 13, 14, 15 hours a day, and at any time I was obsessed with writing them.
Did you feel that perhaps the powers that be and the people who gave you the money, if you like, to do the shows, is now sometimes didn't really have a clue what was going on? Was that upsetting you or not?
Absolutely right. They hadn't a clue. I was called difficult. That's the word for manic depression with the BBC.
Yeah.
He's awfully difficult. And I suppose in the long run, when I was in a maniacal mood, I was actually turning over much better than when I wasn't.
I mean, you know now, obviously, you didn't perhaps not then, but you know now that manic depression is an illness, and it's not. There's no particular reason why sometimes.
Oh, it's better than an illness. It's the top one.
Is it?
Yes, yeah? I'm one of the top illnesses. Yes, it is. It's amazing how since the last 50 years, suddenly realised there was this great strata of people with this illness which nobody seemed to accept as being rational. But now, of course, we have the Manic Depressive Fellowship, and there's hundreds and thousands of people who are manic depressives.
Do you know when you're going to, I mean, you seem quite high at the moment. I mean, do you know when you're going to go into a down state?
No, there's no pre-warning at all. Suddenly, there it is. It's like an accident. You have a medical accident, and there you are. And it affects different people in different ways. Some people get tremendous highs over the top, and other people go very down like this. But with a new drug called lithium, which is a godsave to many people. I'm on lithium, that's why I'm reasonably stabilized at the moment.
I mean, when people have read about the fact that you've been in a psychiatric hospital from time to time, yeah. And when you're quite open about it, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't talk about it, obviously. Do they treat you in a slightly different way? Do they sort of say, oh, well, we won't worry too much about Spike because he can't help it, or...?
I don't know, you see. I don't know. Well, there's two ways people approach me. They'd say, oh, I've seen you on television. They never say, I know that you're a manic depressive. Mostly they say, oh, I've seen you on telly last night. I suggest, did you see me being a manic depressive? No. Well, there you go, I'd say.
When someone says, and they do, because they say the silliest, we all say the silliest things, but they say, come on, pull yourself together, or close friends, you would say, come on, you haven't got anything to worry about. Why are you depressed about money and the end of the world?
James, have you thought, what operation would you go about pulling yourself together? Where would you start pulling?
It's silly.
I've
It's
no
a silly.
idea
It's a
what
silly,
you do with pulling
silly
yourself
thing.
together.
Yeah.
No, but it was a cliche. My father would say, "Pull yourself together," and I said, "I'm all in one piece, Dad. It's as close as I can get together will ever be." He meant me having this depression and going away.
Did your parents understand you?
No, they're dead, so they're safe from it.
They're safe. But when they were alive, did they understand you?
When they're alive, no. My mother understood it, yes, but my father, he thought I ought to pull
yourself together. Sorry about that. Yes,
where are the straps?
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember when you went into a psychiatric hospital first of all? What it was like?
Yes, yes, Woodside Park Psychiatric Hospital. Yeah, I remember that. I was a very bad way, if you can say that, and decimated. I could hardly move, and they put me to sleep. A thing called deep narcosis. They put you to sleep for 3 weeks, and that's supposed to end the trauma that you're in. Fortunately enough, it did. When I came to, I felt better. But I thought I'd been put to sleep for years, because while I was asleep, they didn't shave me, and I grew a beard. So I thought I was like a Rip Van Winkle. I thought, wait a minute, how long have I been in here? And they'd show me newspapers. I said, these aren't today's newspapers. These are old ones. And, well, how long have I been here? So in the end, they got the radio and played it to me. But I didn't really. I thought I'd been in there forever. But terrifying feeling as well. Yeah.
When you first went in, you were already well known.
Not quite. No, this was about 1953. Just starting to get well known. Like my mother and father were saying hello to me.
Did that have a difference, do you think? Because you read some tragic stories now of people who go into psychiatric hospitals and get forgotten.
I'll tell you a story about Roehampton Priory. When I was in there, one of my loony jaunts, oh, we're coming back home again, they'd say, and I found a medical book, and this process was, and in it was all admissions from 1850, but the book was locked, but I found a key and opened it, and in it was Lady Millington Singh, admitted 1850, dementia praecox, 1851, no change. 1853, no change. And it went like this until 1880. All she was her whole life was a series of entries in the book. I thought, my God, how tragic. Of course, they didn't know. They had mind-bending drugs in those days that might have helped her.
What about now, electric shock treatment and stuff like that? Yeah.
Well, they'd put you under. It didn't do me any good. But I did say, well, they use as much electricity as possible, because I had shares in Eastern Electricity. But it didn't do anything for me at all. It put me out like this, and then you came to it. They meant well, but then so did Hitler.
Yeah. There seemed to be a lot of tragedies, reading interviews again about you, there seemed to have been a lot of tragedies in your life that, I mean, most people would have become depressed at. And it seems that they kind of built up as well.
I never had any, James, I never had any definite tragedy as such. Not like being run over or having an accident, you know. I suppose the manic depression is a bit of a tragedy in itself, but I never had, except from a divorce from my first wife, which I thought was a tragedy.
Your second wife died?
Yeah, yes, that was a tragedy, of course. If you just remind me, I've forgotten about that. That's right, yeah. Well, I suppose I did have tragedies, yes.
I mean, I also read somewhere that
how about World War II as a tragedy?
World War II was
not
a big
bad
tragedy,
one, eh?
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
How would you describe depression to somebody who's only ever been perhaps just a little bit sad?
It's like suddenly something might trigger it off, like a cruel word, a cruel gesture, or something which upsets you. And you don't get upset like ordinary people. You go out of this world into this world of complete depression, and it robs you of all energy, all effort, and all sex drive. That's the thing they say in psychiatry, that when your sex drive comes back, then you're cured. Well, mine has never come back. Well, mind you, I haven't driven it very far these days. Mine has never come back, but I am in a better state of mind than I used to be.
The interesting thing, of course, is people are going to say, even when you're depressed, or you still are making people laugh.
Yes.
Usually at your own expense.
I have been on the stage in a mortal depression and made them laugh. How or why, I don't know. Am I the consummate artist of all time?
Are you?
No, I was asking you the question. That was how it was. And another thing that happens with it, as there's nothing good happening in your life at all, nothing at all. You see all the nice things like your children through a mist, you know. You're not really enjoying them like you should. You're in a depression. You're not enjoying your children. Even though they're standing there, you're not enjoying them. The depression is too great, too overwhelming. And what happens is you suddenly try to think away to things that were nice in your past. And the nostalgia is almost as huge as Quasimodo's hump. It's enormous, the nostalgia. The nostalgia is so great that it even depresses you even more. Because you're remembering of a good time and think, wait a minute, that good time is gone. It'll never come back again like this. There's an ominous weight, yeah. That's how it affects me, mind you. I don't know how it affects anybody else.
How do you think it affects your wife?
It does affect her. She has to tread gently and just has to go on loving me. And I don't shout and scream or anything like that. I don't do anything that would frighten anybody. But she has to pay attention to me when I'm in bed. And see,
sometimes some of the stories that have appeared about you, particularly about when you've been depressed in the news, have been writing about you in a very sort of negative way.
No, I've never had any reporter be nasty to me. And my father was an old journalist, and he said, never turn a reporter away. Do you know what it's like to stand for 14 hours in the rain outside a house to try and get a story? So I've always been on good terms with the media, yeah, generally speaking, yeah.
I also read that you were worried, you said you couldn't save money, you had to go out, your overdraft was the next performance, I think, or something like that.
I did run short of money, and I kept getting this letter, continued from the bank, saying, you're overdrawn by £1,000. So I would write back and tell them, thanks very much for telling me, you know. Then another one would come, and this went on for about 4 or 5 weeks, these letters kept coming. And then they said, dear Mr. Milligan, I don't think you understand, we're asking you to close this overdraft, you know. So I wrote and I said, listen, once a month I put all my creditors' name on a piece of paper, and I rolled up and I put them in a hat, I draw one out, and I pay off that bill. And I said, if you don't stop bothering me, I won't put your name in the bloody hat.
What do they say?
They haven't answered that one. I think they're going to send me a hat.
Do you think that the fact that you feel so... I mean, you're a committed vegetarian now.
Yeah.
And
I wasn't committed. I mean, they didn't say I commit you to be a court Christian.
No, but you feel strongly
Milligan, I
about
commit you to be a vegetarian.
You feel very strongly about it?
Yes, I do. I went and saw an animal veal calf and a chicken broiler unit, and I'm sorry, if you just want a little bit of sensitivity, I can't subscribe to this killing. And I've survived now for 15 years just eating vegetarian food, and look what happens to you folks.
But people might say, you see, that this is all part of the illness of depression, that everything becomes so much more acute to you, that you feel everything more.
Yes,
I mean, I'm concerned.
I am very acutely aware of my environment. I feel I'm a skin short. You know, I feel cold before anybody else. I feel the heat before anybody else. You know, like this. And during the war, I could hear shells coming when all my mates couldn't. So they always to watch me. For when I threw myself on the ground, they knew one was on its way. Mind you, I tricked them then. I said, listen, this gift of mine is too good to go unpaid. I want 1 cigarette of all of you, otherwise I will not throw myself to the ground when I hear a shell coming. I didn't do very well. I did get a few cigarettes, yes.
Did you sign the oath of allegiance to get your citizenship? And Prince Charles
No, I was British in the war. They sent me to the war as a British soldier. And then some idiot diplomat or the Foreign Office changed the law so that any man born of a father whose father was born in Ireland before 1900 was now no longer British. So I said to this chinless wonder at the front, I said, what are you? Well, you've got nothing at all, really. You'll have to apply again. I said, what? He said, well, you'll write in. I said, no fears, no way. I'm not going to write in. Go to stand in a room full of foreigners, of every colour, creed, race, name and things, and me in the middle saying, I promised to take an oath of allegiance to be British. So I went to the Irish embassy and I said, can I become an Irish citizen? And he said, oh, Jesus, yes, we're awful short of people. So I joined him and we had 2 glasses of whiskey and then I became Irish. I'm very pleased with it.
So you're an Irish citizen?
I'm an Irish citizen, yes.
Are you pleased that Prince Charles is such a big fan of yours?
I think
Does it make any difference?
I don't think this is true. He's not a big fan of mine. He just knows about me. That's about it.
You've met him, haven't you?
Yes, I've met him. Yes.
I mean, do you like the fact?
You won't believe this, but owing to the sleeping arrangements at his house, I slept on the lavatory floor.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not going to say the obvious.
Not many people know that.
No. Are you lonely?
Yes. I've always been lonely, but I don't know why.
Yet you've got 4 children, you have a family,
yeah,
and lots of fans. You walk down the street, people are going to say, "Hiya, Spike, how are you?"
No, they don't. They say to me, "You're Eric Sykes, aren't you?" Well, I don't mind that. But then there's a chap who said to me, "You're Peter Sellers." I said, "No." I said, "He's dead." He said, "Oh, no, he isn't." So I thought, I don't mind being mistaken for somebody alive, but I don't want to be mistaken for a corpse. One has one pride in being alive, you know.
Why do you think you're lonely? Do you think this is part of your depression?
Maybe yes, James, maybe yes. It's very mysterious. My illness is possibly the most mysterious thing that's happened to me, because I don't understand it. It is a total mystery, yeah.
Even though you've talked to some very eminent people about it and you've been into hospitals?
I'm a pretty literate person, you know.
Sure, but I mean...
And so I've never been short about talking about it. It's very nice sometimes when somebody comes, when you're on a mental home, or the psychiatric ward. Or
they don't like to call it a mental home
the clinic,
now, or loony bin is out as well.
Clinic, it's garden clinic. When nurses would come in, sometimes they'd sit down and talk to me while I was ill, you know. And that was very, very nice that someone was talking to you. Sometimes I wish they'd have buggered off, actually.
We've had a lot of letters in. We said we were going to do a programme on depression, and we mentioned it on the air. We had an enormous amount of letters, and the programme goes out later
Am I being serious enough about this?
You're being fine. Everything's fine. And what we gleaned from the letters was that people seemed to think that they had one event in their life that had triggered off their depressive illness, that it was one thing that they just couldn't get out of their mind. Do you think it was the war for you? Do you think that was what set it off?
I think it was latent in me, James. All it needed was the trigger. And being blown up and taken to hospital with this deep, that set it off. I was all right after that, but I was always aware that I was not the same as I was before this incident in the war. Over the years, it's got quite bad, you know. I've just come out of one, which had lasted nearly two and a half years. In the end, you do consider suicide as a very pleasant option, and that all that stopped me doing it was the fact I could suddenly see all my children standing around my grave, crying, my wife and all that. So I just sort of I couldn't do that to them, you know.
You believe in euthanasia, though, don't you? I read somewhere that you...
Yes, I think, yes. I've said to my family, if ever I get to a stage where there's no point in me living, you pull the plug. Yeah.
Do you think it should be legalised? Do you think?
I think it should be legalised. It's if you really love someone enough, you will kill them.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
What would you say, Spike, to somebody who is depressed watching this? I mean, what sort of help or what advice would you give somebody?
I'd say, here's a bottle of 100 milligram lithium pills. Take one a day.
You'd say go and see a doctor, basically, and rather than just... A lot of people live with their depression. Feel there's nothing you can do about it.
I'd say go and see a pretty girl. It's much better now. No, you can. A doctor's not it. A psychiatrist knows about the tablets, and the vast range of these tablets. There are those which, of course, which are addictive, which you must avoid, and those which are genuinely good drugs. We do need. I realise after all these years that just going and seeing a psychiatrist and saying I don't feel well and relaxed on it. You do need these mind-bending drugs. They are beneficial.
It's a wonderful insight to a genius. I mean, he's a comic genius, yet he's so mixed up. Does genius and depression go hand in hand quite often?
No, not particularly. Anyone can get depressed, and it's really not got very much to do with one's personality. It's just it's so common, you often find geniuses with it.
Do you think that explained it well? I mean, is that
I think there's a lot of really interesting things he said. I think, you know, he seems to think it was latent there all the time, and it just came out because of what happened during the war. And he was describing manic depression, which is a very severe form of depression. And that's the way we think about it nowadays, that it is there, and then it's the events that trigger it to bring out the actual illness.
Now, he mentioned drugs. Do you agree with using drugs for depression?
It's one of the treatments, yes.
Okay, hold it there for a moment. We have somebody on the line called Rose Tinklenberg. Is that right, Rose?
That's Tinklenberg, yes.
Tinklenberg, I see. Now, Rose, you are from the Citizens Commission for Human Rights.
Yes, that's right.
And one of the things is you're totally against the use of drugs for depression.
Well, not necessarily totally against it, but what we feel is like depression is a label that's actually put on many symptoms for which the real cause has not been identified. Like depression, like many other mental symptoms, has real causes that go undetected and therefore unhandled, such as undiagnosed physical illnesses or conditions like diabetes, thyroid.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people don't even know that they are depressed. That's the whole point, isn't it? Surely, if they can get some kind of immediate relief by drugs, that's a good thing.
Well, the problem, though, is that the drugs actually cause many other problems. You know, they have horrendous side effects, and one of the things that we've found is like suicides and violent behavior are actually caused by this psychiatric drug.
Well, let me ask Chris. I mean, you're the psychiatrist here, Chris. I mean, is that right? Do these drugs cause suicide and depression?
There's absolutely no evidence of it at all.
Where do you get your evidence from, Rose?
From basically talking to people, and they're also...
So you don't actually have any evidence?
Well, there are medical studies that actually show that...
Which medical studies are those, Rose?
Well, one by, like, Martin Fleischer from the Harvard Medical School. He recently did a study showing the links of suicide to psychiatric drugs.
Okay, let me ask the doctor here. Do you know about this study?
I do. It's actually a study that's now been discredited and been shown that there are flaws in it.
Did you hear that, Rose?
I did hear that, yes, but from what we have found, there's many, many people that, you know, we actually talk to the people. We find, you know, that just in talking to them, they can actually identify their own cause.
From our point of view, and we talk to the patients, and we know as well. And, you know, listening to someone like Spike Milligan, I think, shows that some people benefit very much from the drugs. I think it's important to point out we don't just give people drugs.
Sure.
That is one of the treatments. And it's sometimes very useful. It's also very useful looking at the causes behind the depression.
Okay.
Well, that I agree with, yes, and the causes actually have to be identified, and I think that's part of the problem that we have found is like physical illnesses actually can cause depression, and these are not then being handled. They're only being covered up and controlled by the psychiatric drugs.
Okay, Rose, let me ask you one thing as well. You were set up by the Church of Scientology, is that right?
That is true, yes.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for your call. We'll be back and we'll talk to you in a few moments, Chris. Now, I'm going to move over here. We've got a microphone here as well. And some members of the audience here have come in and they've been prepared to talk to us about their depression. And they're not all depressed right at this moment, are you? No. I don't know. But let me sit down first of all and talk here to Stephen, right? Stephen, you've been quite brave. David. All right, Stephen. Excuse me. You've been quite brave about coming in and talking
Not really.
on this. Well, you have, because a lot of people don't want to tell everybody that they're depressed or that they suffer with depression.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you look fairly young to me as well. What sort of form did it take?
Mostly deaths. My dad died when I was 11. My mum died when I was 17. My best friend got killed last year. Other family members, aunties and uncles, cousins have died. And just being out of work and that kind of thing.
In what way did your depression manifest itself?
Well, I wasn't sleeping properly. I couldn't concentrate on work. I wasn't eating properly at all. I couldn't look after the house very well, so I left on my own.
Did you go to the doctor?
No.
You didn't go to the doctor?
No.
Did you contemplate suicide at all?
I've tried it once, but a friend stopped me.
Thank goodness. I mean, how did you feel before you tried it? What was going through your mind?
Well, it's better this way. I mean, nothing can get any worse if I commit suicide.
Was it that brought you to the doctor, and that brought you eventually, perhaps, to be better?
I've never been to a doctor.
You've not been to a doctor yet?
No.
No?
It's through talking to friends. I've got some really good friends that have helped me all the way through. I mean, there's a couple of friends at the bottom of my street in a local chippy that if I've no food, if I've no money, they'll always help me out.
Did you identify with some of the things Spike Milligan was saying when I was talking to him?
Yeah.
Yeah? OK, thank you for the moment. Tell me about your situation.
Well, to me, the way that my depression manifests itself is it completely strips me of any tolerance levels, and as soon as one thing happens, starts to go wrong, my sort of the energy inside me to carry on,
is gone.
Disappears.
Yeah. When did you first start getting like this?
About 3 or 4 years ago, when I just felt as if nothing could go right. And that's the way that I still feel when I'm in a depression.
I mean, do you have any particular problems, or is this just something that comes along and whether you really have a reason to be depressed or not, you feel it?
I think I have the same problems as the majority of people in my situation, and sometimes I can coast along and handle it, but sometimes I can't, and things build up.
Would you call somebody like the Samaritans?
I have called the Samaritans in the past, but to be perfectly honest with you, I'd have found them no use whatsoever.
Why not?
Because they're there just to listen and not to advise. And sometimes you need people to give you advice. And I felt I was being patronised by them when I was speaking to them.
Well, we'll put that point to them a little later on, but did you actually then go on and find help maybe from a psychiatrist or somebody else, or have you sort of helped yourself?
Well, I tried to commit suicide, and after that I went to a psychiatrist, as you have to.
Tell me what was going through your mind before you committed suicide. I mean, it's quite easy to say, seeing on the television, someone say, oh, yes, I bet they prompted him into saying this, or he's using it for effect, or what. But I'm sure you wouldn't want to admit that anyway publicly unless you felt you were helping somebody else. So what exactly went through your mind before you did it?
Well, I just felt that things were never going to get any better. And that was the only way out. Every problem that I had just seemed too big to face.
Did you think about how you would do it?
I took an overdose of tranquilizers that I was given by the doctor.
Really?
And I've got to agree with the lady on the phone, because I would never have attempted suicide had I not been given tranquilizers, because it's the easiest way to do it, and I'm not brave enough to slit my wrists, but it's very, very
So basically
easy.
You didn't really want to kill yourself, it was a call for help, which you actually got afterwards.
No, I did at the time.
Yeah?
I mean, I'm very, very glad it didn't work.
Were you worried or concerned at the time what people that you left behind might feel?
No, to be honest. I think they say it's the most selfish thing that you can do, and that is the way that I felt.
Right.
I didn't care.
Thanks very much indeed. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. OK, carrying on with our tradition of bringing you new bands. Here we are on the programme. These gentlemen and lady come from Liverpool. They're known as Pele, and this is their new single. It's called Megalomania!
I say, it's Major Gusset here. Now look here. I've just heard that uncouth yob, Terry Christian. How on earth does someone so uncouth and uneducated get on your show? For goodness sake, raise the tone, old man.
I found my love on Blueberry Hill. Oh, thank you.
rush me my portable walrus polishing kit. 4 super brushes enabling me to clean even the trickiest of sea-bound mammals.
Can we see more women in leather, please?
Good evening. I'm watching the James Whale show at present. It is pretty terrible. I wonder if James would accept a telephone call
If you don't have time to write a letter, but nonetheless wish to pass on to that charming Mr. Whale your views on his programme, or perhaps to suggest a subject which you'd have him deal with, then Whaley's call box is for you. Ring 0898 46 1000 and speak after the tone.
Call box 0898 46 1000. Call box.
Okay, well, that last mess on the phone line was one of the more intelligent calls we had last week, but if you do have a serious point, or perhaps not such a serious point, give us a ring and leave your message on that, and maybe we'll include it next week on the programme. We're just looking at the front page of this Saturday's Daily Mirror, which is a story all about a gentleman who left a message for the Prime Minister before killing his loving wife and turning the gun on himself. After that, he found his business went bang, if you'll excuse that expression, but... I mean, that just goes to show, really, I suppose, that people don't see that these things are happening. No. How can... I mean, still haven't really made it clear how we can actually tell if we're suffering, or somebody near us can tell if we're suffering from clinical depression.
Well, if it's going on for a few weeks, their appetite's affected, they're losing weight, it's affecting their sleeping, then they've got clinical depression.
And then they should, or somebody should go along and talk to it, in the first instance, to their family doctor.
That's right. Family doctor first of all.
Yeah. OK. Kate, you better have a chance to come back at my friend over here, who said that he didn't think that Samaritans were very good. In fact, he felt quite patronised when he got in touch with them.
He talked about needing or feeling the need for advice. And we said earlier that we don't give advice. However, we don't just listen. We do engage in conversations with people to try to give them the opportunity to think about the options that are open to them. But in the end, we have to recognise that we can't make decisions for people. We hope that by being with them, they can come to making their own decisions.
Do you think that sorry, I'm moving back over to the doctor. Do you think that organisations like the Samaritans do help? I mean, just not because they're sitting next to you, but I mean, do you find that that is something that does help? If somebody comes to you, you say, don't forget, you can always ring the Samaritans or another self-help group?
I think they're very important, actually. Actually, talking to people is a very useful way of helping people with depression. If you've got depression, it's important to talk about the problems. A lot of people just hold them in.
OK, let's take one more call on the air. We haven't taken many tonight, but we do have the Samaritans talking to callers off-air as well. George from Wembley. Hello, George.
Hello.
Yes, George.
Yeah, I'm phoning up about depression and the effects it's had on me. It started about a year ago now, and when my girlfriend left me, I've been drinking like ever since, man, and it's just gone downhill.
Have you seen the doctor?
No, I haven't seen the doctor. I don't think there's much he can do for me, really. About a year ago, she left me, you know. I'm 22, and I started to, like, develop a frontal bald patch.
Did you really? Well, listen, take it from one who's had one for a long, long time, George. It really shouldn't be something to get you depressed about. Well, you wouldn't think so, would you either? Not at all. No, thank you very much indeed, George. I'm sure I've been of some help to you.
I think what you do is he's been drinking. One of the things when people are depressed is not to drink too much, because it's very tempting to drown your sorrows.
Yeah.
But actually, drinking actually affects the brain and actually makes people more depressed in the long run.
Yes, he sounded like it had affected him, I must admit. Just before I go back to talk to the audience, just tell us about the little card you're holding in your hot, sweaty hand.
This is a leaflet produced by the Royal College of Psychiatrists, which gives a lot of information on depression and also on how to help yourself. And it's very useful. It's in a lot of doctors' surgeries, but if people are interested in getting hold of it, they can write to the Royal College of Psychiatrists.
Good. Thank you very much indeed. Right, there is a microphone around here for me somewhere. Someone will come rushing up and put it in my hand. It's good. Very good indeed. Now, let me come down here and talk to you. Tell me all about your organisation.
Well, my organisation is called Depressives Associated. We're a self-help group, and the uniqueness about us is that everyone in our group has depression, and I still have it. The thing, I would agree with David when he said about the Samaritans. I didn't find them helpful, although they can be very, very good. But
why didn't you find them helpful?
I needed someone to understand, because the awful thing about depression is a bit like Spike was saying, it's total isolation. And there's probably more people watching tonight because you're totally alone and you don't realise that anyone feels how you do.
Were you surprised to see somebody like Spike talking so openly about his illness?
I was, because there's a lot of stigma about it. I now don't care anymore. Because, I mean, I've lost my career and everything, but I'm now building it. But there's so much sheer shame and fear. You can lose your job, you lose your friends, you can lose your family.
Did you? I mean, what started it off? We heard that Spike said it was a bomb during the war, as far as he was concerned. Did any one thing start it off?
There's an American term, which is one I actually like, is called burnout. I overworked. I was actually in nursing, so I did lots of late-night parties, lots of work during the night.
Did you?
And doing research, and I absolutely flaked out and burnt out completely.
So, I mean, you know, you're an intelligent bloke. I mean, you know that perhaps you don't have that much in life to be fed up with. Why do you think you couldn't sort of grasp hold of it?
That's a terrible thing about depression, because you don't understand why. I mean, and it's... I would sometimes like to be mad and not understand it, but you feel every bit of pain. And you know that it's not right. I mean, if you have a panic attack, you know you shouldn't be doing it.
Do you think that's one of the main things? I saw you in the corner of my eye nodding, that you actually know you've really, perhaps on the scale of things, not got much to be depressed about.
Well, no, I think we have got quite a bit, yes.
You think you have? No, I'm saying, you know, that there are a lot of people, if you look at the world as a whole and you look at what's happening in the world and you think to myself, golly, why am I feeling fed up?
Yes, but it's just the way that things affect you, really.
I think depression is real pain, and I think it's as painful as having a broken leg. And I don't think you can pull yourself together. I don't think you can look at other people and think, well, they're okay. Why am I feeling like I do? You just feel like it.
Are you feeling better now?
Yes.
At this particular moment?
Yes,
But could it go at any time, do you think?
It could.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of that. And I take care of myself more now than I used to.
OK, now listen, you can't possibly be depressed because we wouldn't be wearing such a loud blouse, would you?
I'm not depressed, James.
You're not?
Hi.
Do you ever get depressed?
I have been depressed in the past. I'm not depressed now.
What did you do about it?
What did I do about it? The usual normal things is you try and do something yourself. And if that doesn't work, you go to the GP, and usually they don't have the time to actually see you and counsel you, that's the thing. So what they do is they send you off to a psychiatrist.
Like Chris over there?
Like anybody that's suffered with depression. And I think it starts from that. And then you go through the whole system.
And did it help you or not?
I think it depends very much on the kind of staff that you have there. If you've got genuine, committed people that are there in a caring capacity, then I think you've got every chance of getting well quickly.
Did you know why you were feeling depressed?
I had very good reason. I'd just had a suicide in my family, so I think that justifies that particular depression, and that upset me tremendously. Because of all that, I wanted to run an organisation, which I do in Leeds.
And that helped you. That helped you get out of it.
That helps. No, that doesn't help me because I'm not depressed now.
Yeah.
But it's hopefully helping other people.
But the act of actually starting it up was good therapy for you.
I think it was really because of the services offered in Leeds. I didn't feel they were adequate, and I wanted to do something about that.
OK, let's go over to this gentleman sitting in the corner here. Do you find, trip over everything, do you find that perhaps the majority of people laugh at someone who's depressed and they say it's an excuse rather than something that is serious?
Probably, yeah. I think so, yeah.
Yeah?
I lost a lot through depression, a lot. I lost my career. I used to be a policeman.
You used to be a policeman? Yeah.
I was 17.5 stone. I just lost, the weight just dropped off me. I just lost everything.
But now, I mean, are you building yourself back up now? Are you finding you come to terms with life more easily or not?
I try, but like you still fall back into it.
Yeah.
Very easy, yeah.
OK, there's a guy over here who wants to say a quick word with the menacing moustache. Your point.
there needs to be more awareness made of other organisations that are on the end of a phone where there's personal contact, so that you can sit around with people and talk over your problems.
Do you know the sort of organisation you mean?
Well, I represent an organisation called Mind, which deals with all mental issues, mental health issues, from depression to other elements as well. But it's all done on personal contact, day centre facilities, where people can come and chat with people and talk through the problems rather than speaking down a telephone line.
Okay. One thing I would say, because we're coming to the end of the programme now, thank you all very much indeed, and it goes quicker than you thought, as I said. And we'll hear the end music coming up in a couple of moments. Thank you to the Samaritans, thank you to Doctor, thank you for the callers, and the Samaritans as well, who are still working upstairs. Next week, what can I tell you about the programme next week? We're calling it The Bed Show. And the interviews will be carried out in bed, people will be doing things in bed, and most of the things that we discuss on the programme live next week at 1 o'clock will have to do with a bed. Until then, have a nice weekend from all of us. A very good night. Bye-bye. Thank you.